All right, we're going.
Mike,
Skip, can you hear
can you
me?
hear me?
No,
Uh,
you're in another world.
I don't know what's going on. I can't find you.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you. You're out there somewhere, but I
Oh,
don't know where. I'm lost in the virtual reality.
but can you hear that? Do you hear that?
Hear
It
what?
sounds like it sounds like the intro. Guys, welcome to the 96th episode of Push to Shout. That is 69 upside down, twice as cool, but inverted. We're going for a dark. We're like dark Skippy, dark Mike, that kind of thing.
It's a dark
Shadow the
podcast today.
Hedgehog, dark podcast. Lots to catch up on.
We're dark gamers.
Yeah, so yesterday, or not yesterday, last week was a bye week for the old Push to Shout podcast, as Skippy coined it.
I think your
Um,
intro didn't work.
I think it did. You know what? I
One
think it
says
was
no music.
perfect. Well, fuck you. It's Skippy's fault because he was off in La La Land and he wasn't, nudging it through the pipeline like he normally does. That's his job most of the time. So, blame Skippy. Welcome to the podcast. I did a lot. Did you do a lot?
I guess. Do you want to start out?
No, I think I want to talk about that the elephant on your head, or that was on
Yeah.
your head. You
Uh,
got a vibe.
I got a vibe. It's pretty sweet. I like it.
Okay.
Um,
Tell us
I've
about
been
it.
streaming about it. I've been streaming like three things. The first night I got it, I tried out Google Earth VR. Uh,
Does that put you like on the street view level? Like, can you look around at houses
no,
and stuff? Or
no, but I'm shocked at the amount of detail there is in individual buildings. I mean, it depends what city you're in, as far as like how updated it is, I guess. But in my own city, Birmingham, Alabama, which isn't a major city, uh, the at up close. I haven't looked at Google Earth in a long time, so I was shocked to see the amount of detail. Um, it's really I was kind of blown away to like the Alps or something and just stand there in awe of the Alps. It is really cool. It's hard to describe why it's cool or how it's cool, but it's really cool.
are there high definition panoramas that you can just easily pop open and look around in?
There are I think that there's like recommended areas of the world to go in VR. Like you can take like a VR tour and it'll automatically take you to different areas. Um, I there I wouldn't I don't know if they're I mean I'm sure they're a little bit higher definition. That's why they recommend and at eye level where you would be standing in the real world and it would be like high definition in that way. It's all you have to be like godlike. You can't be on the street level.
Okay, all right. You get the bird's
Or
eye view.
you gotta be a god. Hold on, let me
Now,
get the microphone.
yeah, I'm gonna ask you a question real quick, and while I ask it, change your default mumble device to whatever your real microphone is, because it's not using the right one. It's Skype
Okay,
is using the right one, and Skype sucks balls. So,
is it working
use.
now?
Let me see. Say something.
Hello.
Nope, sucks ass. Anyway, my
Okay, now it's
question.
working.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, there we go.
Sorry, everyone.
So my question was, I know that like the Vive and the Oculus have crazy high system requirements, and you said you
Mm.
were streaming all this. How does that like not kill your system?
I had no issue.
What are you
My
running?
only
You
issue.
1070?
Well, I've got my 1070, which is better than needed for VR. The uh, the CPU is the only thing in my computer that's behind, and that does affect the streaming a little bit. I think. I mean, I say I have no issues. I've had some weird lagging and stuff, and I can't tell what's a problem with streaming. Like I can't really pinpoint the issues exactly because I've never used VR. I have no idea what's going on when I'm in there and I have issues. But streaming doesn't seem. The only problem with streaming was I have a USB wire.
I'm like losing your mic, man. You're Yeah, like when you'll talk and then it'll go silent. Oh, he works on that. Um, I think he can hear me still. I'm also curious if you've been able to find like legit games that are not like VR demos, but any actual full feature length games that are worth playing in VR. Can't hear you. I'm just switching back to shitty Skype for now.
I would say, let me know if it happens again.
Okay.
Uh, I have bought one single game for VR particularly, and that is Onward, and it is a VR only game, and it is like Insurgency. It's like a little bit of a small scale military simulator thing. Um, it's really cool, and it's a game. Like it works like you would expect. I mean, it's early access. It's pretty bare bones, but it
A,
works.
a small scale military sim like Arma?
Yeah, like between like 3v3 and 6v6, or like that kind of scale of military. Like Arma, I would call large scale because it's like
Okay.
arms and all that stuff. Insurgency is like the source game that's like a little military simulator, and it's kind of smaller maps and everything. It's like that, one round at a time. But it's really cool. It's clunky, as you would expect from a game that's working on brand new technology, trying to figure stuff out, and like it's trying to render a full body based on like where your head and hands are. And so sometimes, I mean, all the time, the animations are really goofy, but it's they're I can't fault them for trying, and the game itself works really well. I mean, I'm really impressed with it. It's weird and clunky, and they're still figuring it out, but I'm impressed at how far it's already gotten. I'll say that it makes me hopeful, for the next few years.
Does it let
But
you walk around? Like it's
yeah.
not one of those teleporty
So most
things.
games, yeah, most games. Here's one of my big issues with VR, and like what I think is going to hold it back in the short term is this obsession with making sure people don't get dizzy, and so everything either teleports you or causes, or like you have to like move along like a grid where it
Yeah.
shifts you. They don't. Most games don't let you do free movement unless you're in a cockpit, and I can see why, because when you first get control of your character in Onward, the military game, it's disorienting. You move and you don't expect to move, and you go, oh, and it's kind of like, what the hell's going on? But it literally takes like 15 seconds, and you're fine. It's not a big deal. I'm sure some people cannot get past it, but sorry, it's not for you. That's try before you buy, I guess, because it's just. I think that would be a minority of people. It just doesn't seem like that big of a problem. And this is one of the more popular VR games. And there's lots of people playing from what I've seen. I mean, I haven't had an issue. I was playing over the weekend, but yeah, that's been really impressive, really neat, really hard. I've just gotten shot a lot. Mostly, I killed a teammate accidentally, and I think I've killed two enemies and one teammate all in one round. But
Now,
yeah, that's really cool.
the folks at home, they can't see your little 1984 eye in the sky setup there.
Mm-hmm.
So let me put that up there
I
for
could
all.
actually, if you're watching the video, I'll show you where I've got my cameras here. I've got one up on the windowsill, kind of pointed catty cornered near the ceiling, and then one up on this doorway here. Um, and I've had some tracking issues, and I'm not sure what's causing them. Uh, mostly not major ones, but every once in a while it'll kind of like shift around a little bit, and I have no idea why. Uh, I'm still trying to figure that out. It seems like the placement of the cameras is fine. It seems like that's pretty much what they recommend. So I don't think that that's the problem. But the cool thing about the cameras that I didn't know is that they don't need to connect directly to the computer. They're wireless. You
Really?
just plug them into the wall. Yeah. So anywhere you have a wall outlet, and it's a long cable too, so it's got a lot of leeway. You can just hang them up wherever you want, and that's nice. I didn't expect it to be that simple.
Are there any
And it,
like latency issues with it being wireless?
not that I could no. Here's I've heard this about the Vive, and I didn't believe it until I saw it. But you're probably, when you see the motion controllers, you probably think like the Wii, and it is it is orders of magnitude more. It is 1 to 1. You will not, when you are in VR and you're looking at the virtual controllers, you might as well be looking at real controllers. I think that it would be extremely hard. The frame rate is the only thing you possibly look at to like notice that they're not actually there. It is 1 to 1. That's the most impressive thing to me. Is like when I first got in there and I looked at the controllers and I was moving them around and like touching the controllers against each other, and they're perfectly like
Oh,
when
that's
they hit
cool.
each other, they hit exactly where they should, and you can like slide them along their axis, and it's just like right there perfectly. I was amazed. That's one of the most impressive things to me. I couldn't believe how accurate that was. But so yeah, that's not at all an issue. Latency is not a thing as far as the tracking goes.
That's good.
I,
That would
I
be
haven't
a
had,
deal breaker.
yeah, definitely. And that's, I think that is a deal breaker for me with the Sony one, the PSVR. It uses cameras and that Move controller, which is very old technology. I'm sure they've updated the firmware, but like you can see when you're watching PlayStation VR how shaky it is, and you don't get that in the Valve in the Vive. It's not shaky. I mean, you'll see a little bit of shakiness, but it's your own hand shaking, as far as I can tell.
Because you're
So
so in the game, just like
exactly.
EA Sports.
But yeah, that's super super impressive. I have noticed some lag and stuff in games, but I think it's my computer. I really need a new CPU. So that's another thing. I was trying to buy a new CPU. My motherboard is outdated and only accepts 1155, which there's hardly any CPUs that have that for the motherboard, like that compatibility, and they're really expensive because apparently they're rare even though they're old. So I need to upgrade my PC pretty majorly, and that's what's preventing me from really playing. I tried out DCS, the flight simulator stuff, which is what I really
Oh,
wanted to
right.
try, and it was playable, but like looking in one direction on the map made it lag to the point where it was not playable. I had to look in a certain direction. Like playing the actual game and like actually going on missions and stuff would be impossible. Fooling around in a helicopter, just taking off and landing is fine, but I need a better computer to play that. Also, the resolution is rough in a game that isn't built for VR.
Hmm.
I think anti-aliasing would help a lot. I think they automatically turned off anti-aliasing, and I can probably turn that back on. But it was very noticeable in that game and not so noticeable in Rec Room. And Onward, stuff in the distance is a little blurry. And it's kind of like when you're playing a game like that and you're looking for like a sniper on a rooftop, it can be a little bit difficult because you're really just seeing the outlines.
Yeah, that
But
must be kind of weird for it to be so. I mean, I haven't put it on in an actual game, but if you're expecting in real life to be able to look out into the distance and see, but in games there's like the level of detail fading in of
it is
quality as
weird
things get farther. Yeah,
because technically it's not lower detail than your monitor, but the fact that you're up close to it
yeah.
makes it feel that way because you feel like you should be able to see that far. And I think games like Onward, like Arma, you right click an Arma and you zoom in. No matter what weapon you're holding or anything, you zoom in to about like 1.5 times zoom, like just kind of a little zoom. And I use that constantly in Arma, and I don't know how that would feel in VR, but I can't imagine it would be too bad. Or maybe there's a way you could do it where it wouldn't be too bad. I feel like,
Maybe just a physical scope, like you raise it up in front of
yeah,
you and look
maybe.
through.
I mean, you can do it on your gun. You have a scope on your gun, but it's tiny. It's hard to use,
Oh,
like a real scope, you know? So that's not something you want to like. You don't want to run around
right.
using the actual scope. You got to like close one eye. I mean, it's like using a real scope on a gun. Uh, so
Well, that's kind of cool. Anyway,
it
but
is really really cool to hold a gun up and see down the sight, and, like the red dot sight and stuff like that. There's it is so satisfying to like hold the pistol in that game and just you can point it and look down the sights, and you can actually like pull the slide back and like reload. You take the magazine out and put a new one in from your pocket on your chest. You've got a grenade, the pistol, uh, syringes and stuff. Like you've got a knife, and you can just whip that stuff out, and it feels really good once you get the hang of doing that stuff. It's really fucking neat. I had a machine gun and to reload the machine gun, you go through the whole. You're familiar with the animation of like a light machine gun where you like pull up the top and reload the big cartridge, and then
Or do you
pull the little.
physically do it?
Yeah, and
Oh man,
you pull out the ammo from the cartridge and put it down in the top, and then close it, and then pull the
that's
slide
cool.
back. It feels really really good. Sniper rifle with the bolt action, you have to lift it up and pull it back, and the little thing flies out. That stuff is reloading a shotgun is really cool. You hold it up like this, and you've got the shells come out of your chest, and you just feed it into the bottom of the shotgun. It's just fucking sweet. um, so
That
that
okay? That
yeah,
does sound really really.
it is awesome.
I'm
Uh,
very glad that there's already like an actual game that's VR
yeah, I would
essentially.
call it an actual game, and it's only $25, which for VR, like most of these VR like experiences and shit that you're gonna get like 2 hours out of are like $40 and stuff. Just not at all worth it. They're just tech demos essentially. This is the only one that I've seen. Not the only one, but the only one that I've really wanted to buy. Uh, it seems totally worth the price, and people are playing it, which I'm kind of surprised that people are playing it, but they're playing it, and once you actually get in there and you start playing it, like you can see like okay, there's an appeal for this where I could actually see myself like saying like all right, Saturday I'm going to move all my stuff around and have a VR day here and play some Onward. I know people are getting like knee pads. First thing I noticed in that game is like you start going under fire and you drop down in real life to your
Oh, cool.
hardwood floor. And it's like, and I was talking like in game, I was talking about it, and someone was like, "Yeah, you gotta get knee pads," and I thought he was joking, and then I realized he's not joking because you kind of need them.
So how low can the cameras detect you? Like you can't go
Oh, you can go
prone.
prone.
Oh, you can?
Yeah, you can go all the way to the ground.
What?
You feel like a total goofball because you're sitting in the middle of your living room. I had on my stream, I had a camera pointing at me. I don't know if you can see that low on my camera in the stream, but like you're crawling around on the ground in this game and stuff. Like I was in the second floor of this little building that had like really low windows, and I was kind of like crawling around and peeking out the window and lifting my gun over the window, and I shot someone
Oh,
like
that's
down around
oh.
it like that. The fact that you can do stuff like that is just so.
Your mic's doing it again, unfortunately. But I get what you mean. Like that level of immersion, there's really nothing like that where you physically do the act. It's simple. It's so simple, but to be able to physically do the actions that your character is trying to do instead of have like an abstract button that completes it for you, that's wild. That's really cool.
Yeah. I've just been having a blast. I can't wait to try more of that.
That's
I've
almost
only had
cooler to
about an
me than
hour
like
with it.
the visual part is to be able to use your hands to do things and
Yeah.
move things. And
Yeah, I think that
I think I'm a definite sell the second generation.
yeah, I would recommend it for the second generation. Like no
Only
matter what.
and that's only because I've waited too long, I feel like at this point.
Um,
Like I think
it's
I
hard
would
to
have been
say.
happy with a day one Vive purchase if, I had wanted one at the time.
I'll tell you, I'm happy with my purchase. Because I'm gonna enjoy showing it to people. I've enjoyed
Fuck yeah.
streaming it. So that stuff makes it worth it, I'd say. Like I'm gonna get my money's worth in the long run, just like with all the time spent having fun with it. Um, but I would say if you're looking at it for like one single thing where it's like, okay, that Onward game looks really cool, or I want to use it with this one game I like, I'm not sure.
It's there
You better
yet.
make sure it's like for my dad's simulator, totally worth it. Because he plays that game all the time, but like you got to be sure that you're going to use it.
Okay.
Because if you're just getting it because you think, and I'll talk about this in a second, Rec Room looks really cool. Rec Room is really really cool to experience, but you're not going to play it for a long period of time. You're just going to fool around with it for a little while and think it was cool and then leave it. So I don't know. The second generation will be fucking nuts. I think. The
I
Oculus
bet
controller
you
came out like today or yesterday or something too, and apparently it's even better.
better than the Vive?
Yeah, so it's got pros and cons, but the controllers themselves are apparently better in the Oculus. They've got like finger tracking and stuff, and they're not like the full controllers where like with the Vive, they get in the way of each other because they're so bulky. And
Oh,
like if I'm trying to pull the slide back on a pistol, they're gonna run into each other and stuff. So you kind of have to approximate everything. But with the Oculus, they just kind of wrap around your hands, and they're much smaller, much more compact. And it looks like the next generation of the Vive ones are going to be that way too. That'll be a significant improvement. Um,
I bet you'll be able to upgrade some of your stuff. Like, I don't know if you'll need to get new cameras the next time around.
I would be shocked if you needed new cameras. And I would think that you could do it modular too. Like, okay, they're going to come out with I bet they'll come out with new controllers before they come out with the new version of the headset in
It's probably
Vive's
true.
case. Um, because I think the headset has a longer way to go to really upgrade it. It needs some more serious technology.
And it's
And
probably
maybe
about as good as it can be for like a reasonable price. With
exactly for the hardware you're going to be using it with. That's the real problem. Is like if they up the resolution, then nobody's going to be able to use it anyway, because they're not going to have a graphics card for it. But yeah, I'm super impressed with it so far, and I was impressed too. Like the Oculus gets really hot on my face, and the Vive it gets a little warm, but I haven't noticed it nearly as badly. I'm not sure why that is. Maybe it's just because the stuff I've been doing with the Oculus was so intense. Like doing the rally game is really gets your heart rate up. But I don't know. It seems like I've had a higher level of comfort with this than the Oculus. But from what I've seen of the Oculus stuff with the controllers and like having two of the cameras that they sell, I think it's about the same price point. But I would say it seems like it's a really comparable experience. The only problem is the Oculus is locking their store off, where there's a lot of Oculus only games. Uh, the one coming out that I really want to play is Super Hot VR is
That's
coming out.
only Oculus?
Yeah,
Oh, bad. Mike, man. He's lost it. He's lost his mind and his audio.
I might just stick with my shitty webcam mic. I don't know what's going
That's
on.
that's actually not horrible.
Yeah.
That's okay.
So the what was I saying? Oh yeah,
Super hot.
Super Hot VR looks like fucking amazing. Look up a video of Super Hot VR because you know the concept of Super
Right,
Hot.
yeah.
Where you shoot people, take their gun out of midair, shoot another guy, pick up his katana and swipe another guy and block the bullet in midair. Doing all that in VR with the motion controls will be
Yeah.
fucking wild.
This sounds
That
like
seems
exactly what like the Wii was aiming for. Like the
oh yeah,
fantasy of the behind the
Well,
Wii.
remember
Obviously it
what
was
I think
never
it was a launch game, wasn't it? One of those
Red
I forgot
Steel.
what
I know what
Red
you're fucking
Steel.
talking about. That trailer, I watched that trailer a million times and I believed that it was real
I
back in
did too.
2006. I believed that the game would be like that. And little did I know it was an Ubisoft game and I didn't know what that meant at the time. But oh my god, when the actual okay, to set the stage, the trailer was just the coolest thing ever. It's like this perfect one-to-one. You're moving the gun around with the motion controls and just popping shots off and reloading and all that. And then you go out onto the roof and this like samurai yakuza music starts playing and you have a sword fight with a dude on the roof like in the rain and it's this perfect one-to-one clash of steel and the actual game was an irredeemable piece of shit. One of the worst games I've ever played, and it sucked. Like the guns felt horrible because it's a Wii. It's essentially like a mouse that moves at 20 frames per second, and it's so inaccurate. And then the motion controls on the original Wiimote, it's basically just like an accelerometer. It detects if you're swinging it, and not really which way. And it's just, yeah, did not live up to that concept. But this sounds like it's there. The technology's there
We're
now.
finally there. It took a decade, but we're there.
Damn.
Uh,
I want
Yeah,
I want the original concept of Red Steel VR.
I mean, I really do think that's Super Hot VR is like the kind of game that I envisioned when I first heard of the room scale stuff. Was like, holy shit! Like hold a sword and do crazy shit, in slow motion and stuff. Um, I'm really looking forward to trying that. It is going to eventually come out on Vive. I don't know how long it'll take, but I assume they're acting like they haven't done it this way, but I would be fucking shocked if Oculus isn't paying them to keep it exclusive.
It must be.
It wouldn't make any sense for them to keep it Oculus exclusive. So that's annoying. And Oculus has consistently shown that that's kind of the direction they're going of like we want a closed platform, and I think that that is detrimental to the entire. First of all, the whole premise that they were going for when they initially launched the Oculus was that they want to kickstart the entire industry of VR and like make it an open industry and make it something viable. And now they're working against it, and that pisses me off a lot.
I
But
think they really lost in a big way. I mean, that was totally what they were going for. Um, but if you look at like Apple and their App Store, when the iPhone came out and they first added apps, there was no competition. There was no
yeah,
platform where you could download apps that were that quality on a mobile device. That just didn't exist. Android came like years later, and it took a while to catch up even after that. So Apple had this super closed ecosystem, and it was able to get away with it because there was nobody else on the block. But the Vive is already here. You can play games on your Vive. If you don't want the closed ecosystem of the Oculus, if that is slightly unappealing to you, which it probably is going to be if you're the type of consumer who's going to drop hundreds of dollars on bleeding edge virtual reality technology with motion controls, then maybe you'll probably not want a closed off store ecosystem, and maybe you'll instead want the best hardware.
yeah, they just they saw the reality of the money in their face and they took it. And Facebook
I think that's their only
has,
option because they came to market with the inferior hardware.
yeah. I think if they had rushed it to market a little bit more, but this could have been detrimental too. I know why they didn't want to do this, but like they could have been far and away the first ones on the market. And even if their hardware wasn't up to snuff, like at a fairly reasonable price, being the first ones to market by like a year, that would have been huge. But instead they were selling like the dev kits, and it just didn't really.
Yeah.
They went for a vision of like, all right, we want like a complete system before we can sell this thing, and I support that idea. But when you're being beaten to the market by two major competitors, and then the product you put out isn't any better than what they're offering, like what have you done really? I guess you've really just kickstarted the competition, which is great. I mean that worked,
Yeah.
but now they're saying like, well, all right, now we have to make it our own system so that people have an incentive to buy us instead of them, and that's shitty. But yeah, I'm super super impressed. I I think the only reason I know that there's a lot of naysayers out there talking about how it's a gimmick, how it's Connect or 3D TV, and I just that cannot be further from the truth. I think if anyone tries it, then they will understand that like there is such a clear potential here. We've already reached a lot of the potential it has, and the future for it is incredibly bright. I just can't imagine the stuff that we could do with this. Like it's so cool. The fact that the technology is already at this point is really impressive to me. But yeah, so I'll talk about a couple other things. Well, first of all, I meant to talk. I think my microphone cut out in the middle of talking about it. Um, when I was streaming it, I had a wireless connection on my USB plug-in thing, and it kept cutting out like every three seconds. It was like really weird. I've never had this kind of internet issue where instead of cutting out for like a minute at a time, it was like it was just cutting out for like a second at a time every several seconds.
Hmm.
Like I would get in a game and everyone would move around and be fine, and then they would glitch and they would start moving in one direction and then they'd regain. It was like I had a standby button or something, and the streaming was impossible. And I kept thinking it was my internet. I even called my service provider and stuff. I couldn't figure out what the problem was, and then I realized uh, the VR was interfering with it somehow, and I don't know why it wasn't doing it the first night, but it was doing it the second night I tried to stream. But the USB, I think the USB, like, I don't know, excuse me for my lack of computer knowledge and talk, but like the USB ports were being overloaded, and it couldn't process it all, and so it was just like cutting in and out, and it was prioritizing the VR, and so it was the internet that it was trying to go through the USB was not able to do it at the same time. Um,
So did you
that was
get
a
like
weird.
a PCI card,
I hardwired
network
it. I've got
card?
a really long
Oh, okay,
Ethernet
nice.
cable,
Works better.
which isn't ideal because it has to string across the doorway to the room. But for temporary measures, it's fine. But yeah, that was weird. And the other game that I played, Rec Room, it's free, and it's probably actually I would say definitely the best thing on VR right now. Completely free. It's a rec room simulator. You go into a YMCA style uh, gym where there's like a central area with ping pong tables and stuff where everyone hangs out. It's all online. It's all other people on virtual reality. And then you can go and you can do like mini games, and there's like paintball and dodgeball and frisbee golf and charades where you draw stuff. You draw stuff in 3D.
Like Pictionary, but three-dimensional.
Yeah. So like everyone's like standing on a stage in like a semicircle, and they're the contestants, and then the person drawing is in the middle, and they've got a whole area for it, and they've got like a little paint gun, I guess you could call it, and they're just like drawing in the air, and so you can like make a 3D object, and just really cool concepts like that like really encourage a lot of interaction and a lot of communications and stuff. And it's so cool to communicate with someone where you can see their head and their hands moving. You can high five each other and shit.
Oh, okay.
So it acknowledges, like when you high five someone, it like puffs out with like little confetti and makes a big snapping sound. And when you fist bump someone, you join their party. And when you shake hands with someone, you become friends with them. It's great.
That's a great like
it's everything they do with that game
integration
is
the controls,
and it works so well. And like frisbee golf, actually, like you actually feel like you're throwing a fucking frisbee, and you're just sitting there chilling with some other guy named 420, and you ask him if he smokes weed, and you throw your frisbee, and it's just great. And then there's little kids everywhere, and the kids I thought would be obnoxious, but instead they're like legitimately cute because they're just running around in VR having fun. And I was bullying them, and there's a bucket, there's a big orange bucket, and you can walk up. And the kids, the funny thing is that since it's tracking you in real life, their height is real, so you can tell they're a child because they're half your size. So you walk up behind them with a bucket and put it on their head, and they can't see. It's great. I love it. I love virtual reality. I love Rec Room.
Okay.
It's so fucking great.
That sounds incredible. The bucket. Okay. Maybe I'll need to bump this purchase up. I don't know.
It's so good. It is so good. No, I would hate to recommend it to someone because they'd spend a bunch of money on it, and then it wouldn't. Not that it wouldn't live up to your expectations, but it would
right
become something you wouldn't use after a couple weeks, and that would suck. But it is so fucking cool. I cannot say enough good things about it.
That's good. I'm glad it's as good as it seemed to be.
Yeah, it is. I also finished Doom finally.
Oh,
that's also real good.
Yes, it is.
What have you been up to?
Okay. Well, I played a game called Furi, and it's fucking great. It's a great ass game. It kind of reminded me of Doom a little bit. In like, I guess it's like Doom in how every moment of gameplay is so quick and satisfying, and it just feels really good to do every action in the game at all times, and the style of it is just perfect. I put a picture of it. This week's picture is from Furi. It's this super stylized. The guy who created Afro Samurai did the character designs for the game. Yeah. And it shows, like, it's really stylish, and it works. It's like this super cool neon, strange world. Basically, you're the stranger, and you're locked up and getting tortured and electrocuted constantly, and this guy's talking shit to you and just beating you up. And then this strange rabbit man lets you free, and he says, you gotta kill the jailer to get out. And the first fight is with that guy who was beating you up. And it's basically a tutorial, but, there's like two phases of the gameplay, I'd say, like two key components to it. There's the field stage and the like melee stage. The field stage often has a lot of bullet hell like stuff, which I'm really into. Not everybody's into that, but I really love bullet hell stuff. I don't play a lot of designated bullet hell games, but I like games with bullet hell elements.
Yeah.
And but the field stage is not all about that. Like there's a lot of melee combat there.
just because you mentioned bullet hell, and I'll forget if I don't say it now. By the way, someone compared Rec Room to Gmod. Gmod Tower is Rec Room. Rec Room is Gmod Tower in VR. That's what it is. But anyway, uh, there's a mini game. Like Valve has a collection of like VR experiences, and they're really really well done. They've got like that Valve polish with like good writing and funny jokes and stuff like that. And one of the little experiences that they made was like an arcade game where you go into it and you're in this. It's not very big feeling. Like it's about as feeling as like sitting in your desk. It would probably like fill like a 6 foot radius around you. Like you can reach all the way to the end pretty much. And you grab a little ship and you control the ship. And if you point it at an enemy, it automatically shoots. And you have to. It's like a bullet hell game where you're shooting enemies and stuff, but it's bullet hell in 3D. And so you're having to like navigate like all of these bullets like flying around and like kind of fly your ship through just by like moving your hand around. It's surprisingly fun. It feels really really good. I just I've watched a video of it and you don't get it through the video because there's no depth perception. So you have no idea how they're dodging stuff. But like in real life, it's totally obvious where everything is. And so you can just easily like maneuver your way through. It's just really neat. I just wanted to mention that because it's like a really clever thing that I haven't seen any other games doing. And I would like to see like a full featured game do it. But anyway,
Sure.
talking about
I mean, that definitely speaks to just how fun bullet hell can be at its peak. Like when you're dodging and weaving perfectly and still putting out a lot of damage.
Would you compare Furi to Nier?
Yeah, okay, so I do. Good. I'm glad you brought that up. So when I bought Nier after I saw the trailer for Nier Automata, that really cool boss fight trailer, and I'm like, whoa, the first game's probably not that good. I know it's not developed by Platinum, but if it's even half that good, then I'll be totally in. So I hunted around all these different GameStops around my area. I had to go to 3 of them to find one that actually had a PS3 copy of Nier, and I got it. And it kind of sucked. Like, I don't know. I gave up on it pretty early. I heard the story's good, but I don't want to play it anymore because it wound up being like 90% very, very mediocre JRPG. Kind of bad JRPG. And then like 5% combat.
Yeah.
And like only 1% of that combat was any good. The high points were really cool. Like the boss fights were awesome. And they had the bullet hell stuff going on too. But that stuff is not the core of the game by any means. Furi is kind of the opposite approach. There is no fat in this game. It is only bosses. There's no enemies. There's no like collectibles, no quests, nothing. It's only bosses. And so all the effort in the game went toward developing these boss fights. And it really, really shows. Every boss has a few phases. It's like anywhere ranging from 3 to 6 phases per boss, and it depends like how long they are. And excuse me. And every phase is extremely different from the one before it for every single boss in the game. It really feels like a perfect kind of boss rush experience. They really did a great job with it. The music is fantastic. They got Carpenter Brute from Hotline Miami do a lot of the songs for it. Yeah, it's sick. It's really sick. Especially the song that plays during the fight with the Burst. She's like this sniper chick, and you kind of have this massive arena while she's sniping at you, and you're ducking behind cover and trying to rush up on her and take her out. And then it transitions to the melee fight. And I don't know. It's kind of hard to just describe because it's really about how it feels to play. It just feels great. They're like these flashy, super quick, almost anime-like animations where you parry and attack instantly, like these real flashy, quick movements that are nearly instant. In some ways, it's kind of like Dark Souls, that inevitable comparison that everyone has to make about every game. But
there's a reason.
Yeah, I mean, there's a dodge, there's an attack, there's a parry. But unlike Dark Souls, where your dodges have like invincibility frames, this you just kind of teleport a short distance. So it keeps the pace much, much faster, because to avoid damage, you're actually dodging directly through things instantly and then can continue into your attack. Like, there's no time consumed by that action. Everything is just very well considered in the combat. And the story also works. It's not like the greatest thing ever, not the greatest story in the game, but it's a real cut above most action games. Like there's some legitimately interesting stuff going on in the story, and interesting enough that going back for a second playthrough, you were like thinking about things in a different way. Like certain revelations make you, it's a good story. It's not the greatest, but it's worth it. It made the game interesting. Uh, I don't know. Man, it's hard to talk about this game. You really just got to play it. It's short.
Yeah.
It's cheap. You should just play it. Um, but right before we started this podcast, I finished my Furier difficulty run. There's the easy mode, which is piss easy. It's meant to just be like a tour of the content and the visuals and the sound and all that. Then there's Fury, which is normal, and after that you get Furier, and it's probably the best like higher difficulty mode I've ever seen, because there is no, the phrase artificial difficulty is kind of treated like a joke, like it's not real, like, oh, there's no such thing as artificial difficulty. Well, there definitely is, and this proves it. Fury proves it by being the counterexample. There is no inflation of boss health. There's not just more phases. You don't do less damage. You don't take more damage necessarily. Instead, all the boss's movesets for every phase are different.
Mm.
Every single one of them. Every boss in the game. It's like all new content. It's not just a harder mode. They
Cool.
make the actual challenges you have to face different and harder, which is the best possible approach they could have taken. It really made that second playthrough feel like just a solid continuation of that first run. So I really, really enjoyed that game. One of my favorites this year by far. And that's about all I can really say about Fury. You really just ought to play it. There's not much more to say. But I also played another game, and this kind of addresses the other half of Nier, the RPG part. I started playing Xenoblade Chronicles on 3DS, and I know JRPGs aren't for everybody, but I like one once in a while. I probably play like one a year, I'll say. And this is my JRPG of the year, I guess. And it basically does what Nier was trying to do. I don't know about the story, so maybe it definitely is a completely different story. Nier is kind of dark, but like as far as just being, I don't know, it's really easy to do an RPG about leveling and exploring, and like it's easy to do that boring and bland and make it repetitive. And Xenoblade Chronicles hasn't done that yet. They do a really nice job. It's not like an action RPG by any means. Like it's all about your skills and picking the right attacks at the right time. But it's like a kind of simple, not turn-based, but kind of turn-based cooldown, almost like MMO combat, but better.
Yeah.
But it just works very well, and they managed to integrate one of the points of the story into the gameplay pretty well. The protagonist can like see into the future. He can have a vision of something bad that's about to happen, and that's a major part of the story. But in the combat, you're actually able to see like a little flash, and like it's almost like a little cutscene that'll play, like a boss, their biggest attack. You can see that, oh, they're gonna use it on this party member, and it's gonna kill him. And I have 10 seconds before it'll do it. So I have that long to figure out how I'm going to prevent that from happening.
Yeah.
And it's just a cool little twist on the gameplay.
I've never. I might even say that I've never even really played a JRPG. Like,
Really? Never.
for any extended period of time.
Chrono Trigger?
I think I've actually played a little bit of Chrono Trigger, but I'm talking like a few hours, and never more than that. Like I just have never gotten into them, and I'm thinking Persona 5 comes out sometime in the middle of next year, or that's
I'm
what they're
definitely going to play
saying.
that.
They put that one off for like 3 years, but yeah, I'm thinking that might be. I might take a swing at Persona 5 because I fucking love the style.
Oh,
of those
hell
games
yeah.
so much, and 5 is so, just watching those trailers and stuff like that. It has such an impressive style.
Absolutely.
I'm in love with that.
I didn't give a
And
shit about Persona, and I saw that trailer. And then I
Yeah,
was sold immediately.
I gave a little bit of a shit because I have seen a lot of Persona 4, like just playthroughs. Um, Not the full game, but more than half the game I would say of Persona 4 I've seen, and I did enjoy it. It's pretty repetitive, and I think that's my biggest problem with JRPGs in general is like it's you get into them and they're a long haul and it seems like you're doing the same shit over and over and
Yeah,
even
yeah.
sometimes the story even goes along with it where it's like the same shit over and over like in Persona 4 it's like all right you're going in for another dungeon crawl and you know what's going to be at the end like it's always the same shit so that annoys me a little bit but I feel like if I was more invested like actually playing it maybe I could get into it. So I might, if I end up having a PS4 at that point that Persona 5 comes out, I might give it a shot. But
Yeah,
like Final Fantasy, what 15 is out now.
yeah, like
Everyone's
just came
talking
out.
about it, and I look at that and I have zero. There's no incentive for me to play that game. Like I just don't. I look at it and
I
I
think it
don't get
looks
it.
kind of cool, but I don't really want to play it for some reason.
I
I'm
don't
not
even
sure
think it
why.
looks that cool. Like to me, it's just like I don't get it. I don't get that game. The combat looks atrocious to me. Uh, but I mean, whatever. I don't judge anyone for playing it. I don't know. But like it's just like completely not my thing.
What one little odd thing I've noticed about the design philosophy of JRPG is that a lot of times the gameplay hook will just be to eliminate one really annoying aspect that has always plagued JRPGs. Like Earthbound was probably the first to like really make a conscious effort to attack an annoying piece of shit part of playing RPGs. And that's when you're walking around a low level area. Pokemon, if you've definitely
Oh
played
yeah,
Pokemon, right? You're
yeah,
walking
yeah,
around the
yeah,
starting town and you're walking through the grass and like a level 2 Pidgey will attack you and waste your time even though you're way beyond that point.
yeah. And you should
Um,
be able to just squash it.
exactly. In Earthbound, instead of having you fight it, if it's too low level, like if you're guaranteed to win, it'll just immediately award you the experience and the fight doesn't even happen.
I've
So
looked at
like little
gameplay of the latest
streamlining,
Pokemon, and it seems like it has that same shit going on where it's like
I'm
walk through the
sure it
grass.
does. Yep,
There's the thing, and it's like I don't know how anyone could put up with that for a long period of time because I do
definitely.
remember as a kid trying to play Pokemon and going like, well, fuck this.
The
I've run into
streamlining,
I've run into another Zubat and I'm done with it.
yeah, exactly. And so the streamlining is always appreciated. And in the case of Xenoblade, the world is massive, like almost comically massive, where the areas are huge. They feel
Yeah.
like an entire world. Probably
Is
the
that the
biggest
same
3D
one?
spaces I've
Is
seen
that
in an
basically the
RPG.
same game that's on the Wii U?
It's the one before it. So
Oh,
it's
okay.
probably not like as big, but I'm in this kind of relates into the story and the world building too. They do a really good job with the story so far. Um like the world that you're on is actually this dead titan who's kind of turned into rock and life has grown on it and that's just where you live on this massive humanoid creature. And so this plains area that I'm in is actually its knee. And when you walk into a new area, it'll show you like a little point on this thing's body of where you physically are. And yeah, it's like miles and miles, but it's just a knee. It's pretty incredible.
That
Um,
stuff's really cool to me. I like that
yeah,
aspect
yeah.
of it.
But with a world that big, it could be so annoying to do quests because what's like your average side quest in an RPG? Oh, I need 10 bat wings from the cave. Please bring them back to me. Or I need this recipe for my classic muffin recipe. Oh man, please get it. So, God, that stuff could be so annoying if you actually had to go and retrieve the materials and bring them back. This
Yeah.
game doesn't make you do that at all. You get a quest to get materials, like fetch quest, whatever, but it just doesn't make you bring them back. As soon as you collect it, it's over and you get your reward immediately. You don't have to return anywhere. And in a game like The Witcher 3 or something, that would break immersion. But because it's a admittedly silly JRPG,
Yeah.
that's fine.
It's
That's
going for a
fine.
completely different thing. Like,
Exactly.
The Witcher 3,
Totally.
it's all about the immersion. It's all about like living in the place that it puts you in. But yeah, that's not at all what not at all what
Yeah,
JRPGs
definitely
go for
not.
usually.
So yeah, just a cool game overall. I'm enjoying that. I also went to a quaint little town called Las Vegas, Nevada.
Oh, not New Vegas.
Not New Vegas, actual Vegas.
Okay.
Um, again, it was cool. It's a cool place. There's no place like it. No place really should be like it either. But um, not much to say. For somehow I wound up getting up again. I've been to Vegas twice, and both times I really killed it, just by complete random luck.
I've never legally gambled.
Really, it's fun. I don't have that like itch. My dad, now he doesn't like gamble the family farm way, but he like gets real into like roulette and is like, man, he's crazy into craps. Like he'll just start shouting out, "Yo 11, dealer on the 11, ace 2, scrap one." Yeah, and like.
I walk into a casino and I feel like everyone else knows what they're doing and I don't. I mean, I know how to play poker. I know how to play blackjack. I know how these things work. And I feel like I'm probably better than the average person, even in a casino. But I still sit there and I go like, I feel like I don't belong here. And
it's intimidating, especially like, even if you're just alone at a table, there's like a pit boss standing behind the dealer, just like looking at you.
I usually don't get that kind of anxiety, but like in a casino area, like I definitely.
You will never be more heavily surveilled in your life than in a casino.
I feel like, and there's all these conventions that I have no idea about. Like all of these, like this is good luck, this is bad luck, this is good manners, this is bad manners. And I have zero idea what they are, and so I also always feel like I'm doing something, and I always feel like I'm going to get yelled at by the dealer because I put my hands in the wrong place or something like that. And this is just playing fake money in like a charity organization and stuff. Like I've never been to a real casino, so yeah,
it's really fun. It's worth doing. I won't tell a bunch of stories, but I'll tell one. I went to this place. Oh, shit, what was it called? It's like the El Rancho, or it was one of the places in downtown Vegas. So off the strip, the limits on the tables are lower. So there's like $5 blackjack, $2 roulette minimum. And so, you can play for longer. It's more fun, but you also get the seedier, more entertaining elements too. And so I was playing roulette, and this Asian guy with a cowboy hat comes in, and he's like looking all shifty and like darting his head around, and then he comes up to the roulette table, and he's just like flipping his chips around. This is not like a racist thing, but this is just something I noticed. I think it's fair to say that like in Asian cultures, superstition is more real to people. Like I think that people who are from Asia, or just those cultures in general, they are more superstitious than the West. I think that's a fair statement. And you can definitely see that. Like I saw this guy sit at a table. He cashed in $500, and then he placed a $5 bet down. He watched what came out, and then he immediately left because he just didn't like how something went. Like he just immediately said, "No." That's what he said, and he left. And it's a real thing. So anyway, this crazy guy comes up to the table and he's like, "Bro, get me on the 789, bro." And he just starts throwing shit everywhere. And then he for the rest of the time playing, never shuts his mouth. He is constantly talking, just the most outlandish shit. Like, "Listen, my son. Listen, my brother. I do not believe in marriage. I only believe in commitment. Do you believe in commitment? Commitment is better for you, brother." And he would always call me brother. But the thing was, he never made eye contact. Like, even when he's talking directly to you, he's like looking over you. And then he asked me, "Are you local or are you a tourist?" "I'm a tourist." "Oh, better be tourist than local. You be local like me, you gamble all your money away all the time. Never have any money. Put it all on the table." Just crazy dude. And he was there for like another 3 hours. I was watching him. He didn't leave that table.
That's his life.
Crazy guy. Like, and that's, gambling is like it can really fuck you up.
Yeah.
So that's my little Vegas story.
Don't gamble on CS:GO skins, people.
Yeah, definitely don't do that. I also saw the Blue Man Group. They were cool. Oh yeah, that's about all I have to say about Vegas.
I'd like to go to a magic show.
Oh yeah, I saw Penn and Teller for the second time in my life though. I saw them once 6 years ago, and then once more now. They weren't as cool this time around. Part of it's because they did a lot of the tricks again.
Yeah.
And then some of the newer tricks that they did were not very good. But really, I like Magic, so it was good to see them. And they're funny. They're funny guys.
Um, I've got one more thing to talk about before we head into Haps.
Sure.
I watched Enemy. Have you ever seen that?
Yes, Jake Gyllenhaal. Yep,
Yeah, that's a crazy movie.
it is. It's
I
definitely
don't
mysterious.
I don't know how much I have to say about it. I will say like that movie ended and I was like, huh. And I went in like basically knowing nothing about that movie. And I feel like that's a detriment. Like if I knew someone was about to watch this movie, I would tell them like, all right, here you go. I'm gonna go ahead and tell you, the viewer, the listener, what I would tell myself before going into this movie. This movie,
Bet.
the events depicted on the screen aren't necessarily what's actually happening, but it's not like a Fight Club thing. It's not like, oh, it's all in his mind and he's got a there's a person
Right.
there
It's more
who's really just
metaphorical.
subconscious. It's the whole thing is like metaphorical. Like yeah, it's like there's the events occurring in the plot may or may not have happened, and you have to think about whether they're metaphorical or not. And it's kind of
No,
crazy.
that's the same guy who directed Sicario and
And Arrival.
Arrival.
Yeah,
He's a versatile dude.
yeah, those are three
Yeah.
different movies. And yeah, I would recommend Enemy, but like do a minimal amount of research. Don't
I don't
spoil
think you
it for
have
yourself
to.
or anything. God,
I saw Enemy on like a top movies of the year list, and I just watched it. I really enjoyed it. I knew nothing about it, and I don't think I would have wanted to, because that was part of the fun for me. Is just how obviously logically it doesn't make sense, and that's part of what drives your interest while you're watching it. Is okay.
yes,
Clearly,
right.
this either isn't happening the way it's being shown, or something magical is going on,
But
and
I don't think I think you're right that drives it, that keeps you invested in it. But I think that
it's the coal in
by
the furnace.
I think by the end of that movie, you, I, I personally didn't feel satisfied because the capacity of my mind was not. I'm not smart enough to figure out what that movie's trying to say, especially going in not knowing it was trying to be metaphorical. And so it ended, and I was like, I enjoyed that, but I don't know what happened, and I didn't actually appreciate it until I went back and like read people's thoughts on it and like the theories and that kind of thing of like what it's trying to actually get across to the viewer. And then I appreciated it, but only in retrospect. At the time, like when the movie ended, I was like, I don't know about that. Like I enjoyed it, but I don't know about it. I had to look up stuff to really appreciate it, and maybe I could have given myself a few days of like thinking about it. Like with Sicario, it took at least a full 24 hours for me to actually appreciate that movie. Now I didn't go and read about it. I just kind of thought about it, but I don't know how long it would have taken me with this movie because just the very premise of it being metaphorical, I think it's hard. It was hard for me to figure out like, okay, what exactly is it trying to say? I don't know. It's a tough one.
I don't know. I didn't have. I got it, and I'm not trying to be a shithead. Like
I know.
I I I don't know if talking about what generally the themes are could be considered a spoiler, but I thought it was a fairly
I don't think so.
straightforward metaphor about a relationship and an affair, and and kind of resolving that tension. And I don't know. I just didn't have that experience. I felt satisfied at the end. I felt like I understood what it was going for by the end, not like in the middle while it's throwing all the shit at you. But I don't know. I watched it once. I feel like I got it. I don't.
By the end
It's
of it,
definitely something to chew on, but
yeah.
it's
By
not
the end,
like what's happening here. I didn't have that feeling.
I think I was just thrown for such a loop because I had no idea that's the direction it was going in. That I didn't realize that the things I was seeing on screen not only weren't necessarily happening as they were portrayed, but also might not even be like a Fight Club situation where it's like something's going on with his mind. Instead, it's like literally just a metaphor. I, it took me a while to figure that out, and it wasn't until the last like act of the movie that I really started figuring that out. And by then, it was very hard for me to go back in my head and think about like, okay, what's real, what isn't, what's the actual story here. I don't know. I probably should have given myself some time to think about it before, just like right when that movie ended, I went and I looked it up online to see
Oh,
what
okay.
people saying about it. And I probably should have given myself some more time, but I was impatient, I guess. But like, God, I was so lost right there at the end that I didn't want to give myself time, I guess. But
I think the spider was what made it all clear to me. The spider image. I thought that kind of made it. It framed it in a way that it was much easier to
it's
understand.
a fucking great way to end the movie, and you're right, it instantly makes you think in the right direction, but it's still my whole issue was just figuring out what is actually going on and what isn't actually going on, and that was very hard for me to.
Well, it's really all actually going on in a way. I mean, it's I don't think we need to talk about the specifics, but you're kind of freezing for me. I can't hear you right now.
Oh dear, I don't know.
Oh no, you're good. You're good. You're good.
Yeah,
Anyway.
it's a really neat movie.
I'd
I don't want to
recommend
go
it.
into details with it, but I would recommend it too, for sure. I just feel like I would have appreciated it a lot more as I was watching it if I at least understood the premise going in. But then again, maybe going in blind because it's such and like it is fun to kind of figure out. That would have been better, but I don't know. It's tough.
You're still lagging a little bit. I saw another movie though, and this is kind of Vegas themed. I saw Casino by Martin Scorsese for the first time. Never seen that movie before.
I've never seen that full movie either.
I don't know if I like it more than Goodfellas, but one thing that's pretty obvious about his movies, the more I see of them, is that he's just getting better at making movies every time. I don't think like each movie is better than the last because sometimes the idea is just so strong, like Goodfellas or something. Like where the idea is so well put together and tied up by the end and the message so powerful. Like you can't top that every time. The Wolf of Wall Street is not some masterpiece of
Yeah, I didn't
storytelling,
think The Wall Street was as good as
but
Goodfellas.
but the craft of the filmmaking, he's always just getting better at putting a movie together, I think. Like
I went back and watched Wolf of Wall Street again. Actually, I think we might have talked about this a little bit when I did it. I don't know. I don't know about that movie's the way that movie is put together, and I don't know how much of it is intentional and how much of it is just crazy editing and the way that he directs. But
I love his editing so
a lot
much.
of that movie is a jumbled mess editing wise.
Totally.
Like, totally fucking jumbled, and I don't like it. I don't like that aspect of it. I feel like it's just messy. There's the scene I remember.
I'll give you that for now because I haven't seen that movie since it came out.
If you watch that movie again, pay attention to the editing. Pay attention to the shots, the consistency between them, the dialogue as it's going, and like you can tell. Like I feel like I can tell exactly what happened. Where it's like, okay, he let the actor improvise here, and then he took a completely different shot from a completely different take. The actors improvising in a different way, and then he cut them together. Really, and I don't feel like it's completely unintentional because that's not like a mistake that you make. That's got to be intentional, but it's very noticeable. And I guess it's maybe not for everyone, but like it distracted the shit out of me, especially on the second viewing.
Okay, that's fair.
I like that movie a lot, but that's something where I never got that impression with Goodfellas. Goodfellas felt very clean, and I love Goodfellas.
Goodfellas is a very clean movie. I guess maybe I'm just my perspective here is colored having just seen Casino, because Casino, the craft of it is clearly better than Goodfellas. Even though I don't think I liked the movie as much. It was a great movie though. I think it's I don't think there's a better movie about Vegas. It's a pretty simple premise. It's like almost like what Red Dead Redemption is to the Old West. Yeah, I see your webcam's lagging out again. I don't even know if you can hear me.
I can hear you fine.
Okay, good. So, kind of like what Red Dead Redemption is to the end of the Old West, this movie starts like at the end of the golden age of the mob-run casinos and Vegas as like a legitimately seedy place. And it's like the transition into it being a kind of Disney World tourist destination. And it shows you like
for a second there. Sorry.
Okay, that's fine. And it shows you what survives that transition and what can't survive that transition. It's a really cool movie. I highly recommend that.
I need to watch that full thing. To me,
It's a
Casino.
3 hour long movie. I part of what made me able to sit through it was being on a 3 hour, or sorry, a 4 hour flight that permitted that kind of focus.
I always felt like, from a very limited knowledge of that movie, that it was just Goodfellas light, like
No,
Goodfellas again, but
it's a
not as good.
different movie. Very
Right.
different movie, easily.
All right. Cool.
Oh,
Hopefully,
go ahead.
well, I was gonna say hopefully my internet can keep itself together long enough to get through news, because there's
Oh,
actually quite a bit.
okay.
But
All
what
right.
were you gonna say?
Yeah, I'll just get this last bit of stuff out of the way. I bought a 4K monitor.
Oh, I got a 4K television, but it hasn't arrived yet though.
I think it's really cool. It's really, really cool, and not for games. Um, Games I can play like some older ones. Part of this might just be my video card. I'm on a 780 Ti, so I can't do like new games at 4K. But Furi I played at 4K, looked really nice. New Vegas was like heaven at 4K because really there's not much you can do with that game because it's a Bethesda game. It kind of is just will always look like shit. But just having that much more detail, it made it so much cooler to just walk around and look at things, which is a big part of that experience, is walking around the wasteland and looking at stuff. But so yeah, not so much for games. There's some that are clear improvements. What was really wild to me was I'd never actually finished season 2 of Better Call Saul, and the funny thing about the way that was released, AMC doesn't own the rights to it. Sony Pictures does. AMC just owns the distribution in the US and like some other countries, I think. So there's like certain countries in the world where Better Call Saul, when it came out, was released directly to Netflix in 4K.
Hmm.
And like, so, and just in case, I always love talking to the lawyers. In case any lawyers are listening, I took a trip to Malaysia with my 4K monitor, and I applied for a Malaysian residence, and then signed up for Netflix there, and then watched Better Call Saul on my 4K monitor at 4K, and that was wild. Like, movies are where it's at with 4K. I've never seen anything that's looked that good. Fidelity wise, the best thing I've ever seen, and I am pumped to see more stuff in 4K. It's hard to describe because that level of detail, I don't know, like I have a 4K wallpaper right now, and the only way I can really communicate what it looks like in person is that it looks like physical paper. That the detail is so high that it seems like an actual high quality print and not an image on a screen. You can't differentiate any pixel from another one. It's pretty cool.
I was I was reading and I heard that 4K streaming is surprisingly good. Like you can look up a 4K YouTube video and it'll look very, very good.
Yeah, that too. YouTube videos look really
I
nice in
didn't
4K.
know that. Like I thought that 4K streaming would suck for a while. So I'm really excited to try that out. I haven't even seen a 4K screen yet. Like period.
You'll like
So,
it. Yeah,
yeah.
When you get your TV, you'll like it.
I was hoping to get it. So I was hoping to get my TV before Last Guardian came out, and I could play
Oh,
Last
yeah.
Guardian. I mean, I wouldn't play it in 4K.
Because you need a PS Pro.
I don't even think I'm going to get the Pro, and I don't. And if I did have the Pro, I would go for the frame rate over the resolution anyway. But my TV got to the city and then got damaged and sent back.
Ah,
and
that
I
sucks.
was looking at the tracking and it said delivered and it said Birmingham, and I was like, okay, but it's not in the lobby of my condo building. And I looked at the tracking closer, and it says, even though it says delivered, it really means well delivered back to sender because we broke it. So that sucks.
When was that supposed to happen?
Wednesday.
That
It's gonna
sucks.
be a while, but yeah.
All right, Haps.
Apps. It's Game Awards.
Yeah, and Death Stranding trailer.
Yeah, I didn't expect a Death Stranding trailer.
I did.
That was. I mean, I knew Kojima was there and everything, and so I knew there'd be something, but I don't know. I just didn't expect it to be like a full new trailer like that. I I just wonder how much of that game they have done.
Exactly. That's as cool as that trailer is. I need him to prove to me that it's a video game.
Yeah, he said it was running in engine. Like,
Yeah,
holy
but what does that mean? What's the game?
I mean, there's a game, but I'm impressed that they've put together that kind of engine that looks like that. That's cool.
Yeah, it definitely is, and I really love that Guillermo del Toro's little
In it.
waddling lightness
He's
is going to be
the
in it.
trailer.
Yeah, and he's in the
That's so
game.
weird.
He's
Who
not
knows if
actually.
he's in the game?
No,
Who knows?
it's confirmed that he's in the game,
Oh, okay.
but he's not actually playing himself. He's not going to voice his character or motion cap the character.
What a
It is
weird
just
shit.
his scanned likeness in perfect detail, who will be an actual
Who's gonna
character
play him,
in the
like
game.
John Goodman or something. John Goodman as Guillermo del Toro.
That would be cool. But Mads
Uh,
Mikkelsen fucking looked
That was a
great.
big surprise. That was cool.
I just saw The Hunt with him in it, and that was a good movie too. But yeah, the trailer was really cool. I want to see what the game is. I want to see
Yeah.
what the basic gameplay premise of Death Stranding is.
I'm just so excited. Even if the game's a big disappointment again, like Metal Gear Solid 5, which I don't think it'll be anywhere near
It
that
won't be.
disappointing. It could be. It could be disappointing, but nowhere near that disappointing. But
There's nothing for it to live up to besides the trailers.
I'm excited to go through the Metal Gear Solid 5.
You're excited to go through the Metal Gear Solid 5 freeze. That's what I heard. Oh.
Damn it.
You're excited to go through the Metal Gear Solid 5 blank.
Pre-release buzz.
Oh, yeah. I just rewatched the original Red Band trailer, and it was heartbreaking.
It is heartbreaking. I go back and watch it every once in a while.
It
just to feel the pain.
the wounds haven't
pain.
healed yet. It's been over a year, and I still think about it.
Yeah. It was fun. It was fun being a part of that buzz, and I think you're going to get kind of the same thing with Death Stranding. It's going to be a lot of fun.
I think so. I am willing to get excited about it. I'm not one of those that takes disappointment in video games so personally that I will refuse to get excited. I mean, how much do you have to have your priorities warped to not even be willing to buy into the fun of it? But yeah.
There was also gameplay of the new Zelda game. Did you see that?
New Zelda game? Oh, the Breath of the Wild thing. Yeah.
Did you notice the frame rate on that?
Yeah.
I couldn't not notice it, and it was really bad.
Maybe it was running on the Switch.
I just don't know why they would show the game in that state. It just seemed really terrible. I don't know.
Now, Zelda games have never had the best frame rates.
Yeah.
Ocarina of Time had, 12 frames per second, I think. It was something abysmal. And same with Majora's Mask. And Wind Waker, I think, was better. And Twilight Princess was pretty good. But then Skyward Sword was shit again. They've never had great frame rates. But still, it seems like with an art style like that in today's hardware environment, that it should be really possible to make a stylized Zelda game 60 frames. That should be doable. And I think that anyone other than Nintendo could have actually done it.
I'm real worried about that. Just Nintendo's such a weird company, and they could really fuck things up in a bad way because they're Nintendo. And it's just weird that they've shown that game twice now with a weirdly low frame rate. And it's disturbing that they think it's appropriate to show the game to me.
I mean, maybe at least it probably means they're not lying about the frame rate.
God, yeah, they didn't lie about.
I hope they're not. I mean, if those are the bull shots, then I don't want to think about what the reality will be.
I mean, the game looks so great, but God, no, we'll see. I make it look like sake.
Man, your shit is fucked. Or maybe my shit is fucked, but somebody's shit is fucked. Hello? Hello? Okay, well, Skippy's dead. In the meantime, I guess we can talk about some other haps. Or maybe we could have an anime diversion again. Let's see. I actually don't know what the haps are. I didn't get to see the Game Awards because I was out in Vegas time. So I didn't get to watch them from beginning to end. But I got like the highlights. I saw the Death Stranding trailer, and that is pretty cool. That when you play them at the same time, the baby teleports out of Norman Reedus' arms into Guillermo del Toro's little pod. That is really cool. It was probably planned, I think. It lines up pretty well. Still, I have yet to try it myself. Like, I've seen videos where people play them side by side, but when I actually hit play at the same time, I did it the frame after the PS4 logo showed up to try to see if it would actually line up, and it didn't. I think that might be because of the quote, though. The quote at the beginning of the first E3 trailer. But when I played them back to back that way, or side to side rather, the baby teleporting did not line up at all. So I think maybe you need to skip the quote, and at that point, I don't know how much of it's a coincidence. And
I'm back.
who cares? Yeah, I see.
That baby teleported.
Well, yes, it did. Did you try it yourself?
I don't know. No, I didn't try to line it up, but I don't think it really matters. It matters if it lined. I mean, that'd be cool if it lined up, but I do think the assertion that he stole it out of Norman Reedus's hands, he stole Mingus fetus. That is true. That looks like that's what happens.
Yeah, I think so. I think you're right.
But yeah, that's the kind of fuckery that we can expect and love.
The fuckery.
Game comes out.
Dude, it's your mic is so bad.
I'm really, I'm loving it.
Fucking bad.
Right.
Happened to you?
My microphone is.
It's got to be the internet, and who knows? Maybe it's on my end, but I'm not dropping frames. Maybe it's your VR pipeline. Maybe you're piping through too much VR technology, still through your Ethernet port now. Who knows? But there's really no time to figure that out. Any other big haps? Hello? Get a load of this guy. Well, anyway, I saw the season finale of Westworld. Anybody watch Westworld? I'm not going to spoil it if you are interested in the plot, which that's kind of the point I want to make. I think by the end of this season of Westworld, this first season, it's really shown what kind of show it's going to be. It is not a character-driven show. It is not an exploration of personal motivation. It's a sci-fi premise with a twisting plot. And the plot is really the strongest thing it has going for it. But I don't know how much more than that it has. Skippy, did you see the finale of Westworld? Hello? I can hear him, like, rummaging around. Skippy. Fuck me. What happened here? Hello? Yo, Skippy. I can hear you. You just open a water bottle. I can hear you sigh. Yeah, I can hear you. I can hear you. Yes. Yeah, I got you. Oh, kinda.
We're on like a 10-second delay, but I'm coming through, and I saw the finale of Westworld, and I'm still invested in that show. I think that the Maeve storyline is fucked. And that they fucked it up, and that they haven't fixed it, and that they can't fix it because they already fucked. Storylines are pretty good.
Yeah, the Maeve thing is not good. But one of the things that stuck out to me, and I won't get into any specifics here, but maybe you'll, I don't know. If you care, maybe you'll cover yours for a second, but whatever. I think this will be fine, even if you're interested in the show. by the end of the season, it seemed like there weren't that many actions that characters took. Like there was very little exercise of choice or agency in the story. That there was really only one person who was making decisions that mattered, maybe two. And that a lot of the characters, Dolores in particular, it seemed like stuff just kind of happens to them, and that I don't know. It kind of feels like a really interesting but a kind of static show. That makes sense. I think it's worth watching still. I'll definitely watch the next
A
season.
lot of characters don't have agency, and then the ones that do have agency don't deserve it, and or don't earn it through ways that are satisfying, and that's
Yeah,
annoying.
like Maeve is one of the ones that is clearly making decisions, but
She just doesn't deserve it.
exactly what's the I don't know. That really fell apart quick. That was a kind of a disaster.
Yeah,
That whole storyline. I was hanging in there with it. I thought that maybe there was some way to, but it just got so ridiculous that
And it
I
ended still ridiculous, like with the Asian guy helping her along the way. Like what the they didn't set that up at all. Like why the fuck is he helping this robot revolution? What the fuck?
and
It
he
just
didn't
doesn't.
even like I don't know. It seems everything that happened in that storyline felt stupid and
Yeah.
like it wouldn't have happened in that world. And
Yep.
I don't know. It was bad. It was a bad part of the show. Anyway,
Anyway,
I was kind of
let's
just filling
end this
time.
podcast before my internet goes out. I was going to mention the No Man's Sky update that didn't actually update anything of meaning, and they actually just added base building, which nobody cares about or
Right,
wants,
just new
and that goes against
superficial
the entire
features.
premise of the game. What the fuck is going on at that studio? But anyway, it's been a good podcast.
Yes,
I
yes, it has.
guess.
It's been a long, bumpy one, but
The issues are make it. That's what gives us our personality. You know?
I don't think we've ever had an episode where our shit didn't go disastrously wrong. Okay. Maybe, you know what? Maybe we can end it this way because somebody mentioned that at the start, the intro didn't play. So now it's playing. Now you can hear it.
Good night.
Good night. Play us out. Things.